as you go about your day to day and you meet people, you're supposed to be sharing. That's your selling point.
So this presentation is specifically named Think It, Say It, Be It. And it being the leader. The leader within yourself coming out so you can say it and so you can be it. Now, what matters most is how you see yourself. I believe that most things begin here. If you have a business, if you want people to understand what your business is and what it does, it has to start with you. When I started my business, JR Communications, it was a play on my name. My first name is Janelle. My second name is Renee. JR. We know about JR from Knots Landing. JR was a business person. So we went on. And I came with JR Communications because my background is in communications. Now, Lorna Barrow has spoken about how you come up with your name for your business. There's a bit of my ego. I added on the Bond. So some might call me JR Bond. My social media is branded as JR Bond because, as Quintan would have alluded to just now, I pretty much take things, run with them, and make them happen. That's one of my strengths, and I discovered that within myself, and I use that to my advantage. So there are a couple of things that I want to ask you very quickly. Who are the top influencers in your life? And what are the qualities that these persons possess? You can write them down, even write the names of those persons, because sometimes we forget about those persons who influence our lives. It could be directly or indirectly. So think about it for a minute. Get your pens out and just write down one or two names of persons and the particular qualities or traits or characteristics of those persons, which in your mind makes them a person that you can look up to and how they have influenced you. So quickly, just write down a couple of those traits. And then you can also think about if you have any of those traits within yourself. These are a couple of people who I've looked at, who have influenced me in one way or the other, whether it be their life story. Well, some of them are not alive. And I also have myself up there because I consider myself to be a leader. If you have a dream board, the concept is to put yourself in the middle of the dream board and everything else surrounds it. If you believe that you are a leader, remember it starts in here. So if you believe that you are a leader, then of course you must think that you're a leader, tell people that you're a leader, and then be a leader. Agreed? Agreed. So we have those traits? Okay, good. I need a volunteer. Quick. Anybody? One person? I just need someone to write. Nothing too hard. Oh, can Tamara do it? Okay, so based on what you've written, what are some of the qualities that you see in these persons who have influenced you in one way or the other? Qualities, traits. What makes these persons leaders in your mind? I heard service. Service to humanity, so service. What else? A can-do attitude. From this side? Doing what it takes. We're going to quickly? Anything else? Their strength, their personal strength. Yes, okay, good. Anything else? Genuine and honest, yes. Anything else you can think of? Kind-heartedness. And passion. Good. So, we normally get confused between leadership and management. In management, we manage things, budgets, and people, but when we lead, we have to lead people. We can't exactly manage people because the only person that we can control is ourselves. And sometimes we're not as disciplined as we should be, so we don't control ourselves in the way that we should. So you manage things, but you lead people. Just remember that. And a quote, there's some quotes here that I'm using to define leadership because it could make you roll your eyes back in your head because there's so much information telling you what leadership is. There are a lot of traits, there are a lot of theories which would explain to you what leadership is. But I think these quotes grab it in a really great sense to help you get a better understanding. So it says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. How many of you can say that you've done that in your life at some point in time? It could be at home, it could be at work, it could be anywhere. It could be in passing. You could see some person just by saying something nice or kind to them. You've inspired that person to be better than they are at that particular time. And which simply means you don't need a title to be a leader. Because you're the owner of the organization, it doesn't mean that you're automatically a leader. We can say that leadership is an attitude. We see it there, can-do attitude. And I love this one by John Maxwell. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. We have to remember that. And also remember that as a leader, we still need to be able to follow. You don't always have to be out front, being the one who's in the limelight. Because at the end of the day, your team members must also feel as if they have accomplished, they're a part of it. And in some of the earlier presentations, we would have heard about the team and working with the team, making sure you choose the right persons for the team. And these things are important when you are a leader. These are just some of the theories, which are the different types of leadership. You have autocratic, bureaucratic, charismatic, democratic, laissez-faire, people and relationships oriented, servant, task oriented, transactional leadership, which is one that we should try to avoid unless we're into processes. And transformational leadership is the one which is most important for us as business persons, because it means that this is the way that we inspire persons to follow our vision and our dreams. How many of you have a clear way of expressing your vision of your company? You do. Can you tell us what it is? Nature beautifully packaged. Okay. So by hearing that, is your interest piqued to hear more, to find out more about the business? Do you feel as if you've heard enough to then want to get to know more about her business? It's called the elevator pitch, and you might have heard about it before. Those keywords that you use, those things that you use to describe your business. When I did my business logo, it's actually a panther that's mixed into it. It's evolved around time. And people couldn't understand why are you using a panther? But I would say to them, the panther is mystique, but it's also a cat. And cats have a high rate of completion. They have a high rate of success. And that is the way that I saw myself, and that's the way that I wanted to be. So I had to think it first, and I say it, and then I become it. So think about that each time. Here are some of the other traits of strong leaders. They're creative and they're visionary. We talked about the pioneers, people who lead the way. You have to be able to motivate yourself. Your lady says sometimes, you don't feel as if you want to do anything. Sometimes you feel as if you just want to stop. You have to be able to motivate yourself. Because then when you motivate yourself, then it's easier for you to motivate others. Does it make sense? Yeah, of course. Also, your social skills. This morning's presentation was about networking. You need to be sociable. I consider myself to be very shy. Thank God for Toastmasters. Also self-regulating, being disciplined. Ethical. You need to be able to sleep at night. You really do. You don't want anybody coming throwing bombs at your house. You want to know that at the end of your day that you've made ethical decisions which do not impact on others negatively. Also being empathic. Janelle spoke about understanding the person, why they feel the way that they do. Customer service situation. You go into a business, the person is there, their face is all messed up, they're not happy, and they're looking at you, and you can tell that they do not want you to say anything to them. They just want you to come in and go back out. You have two choices. You can either look at that person and mirror whatever it is that they are projecting onto you, or you can do something very simple, which is smile. Smile at that person and say, how are you doing today? And you have to listen. Because if that person says to you, I'm not doing well, then that is your opening to somehow, in a very small way even, to make an impact on changing the way that person's day is going. Because when that person says, I'm not doing well, and you say, okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, you know, you shut them down. You've pretty much shut them down. And you have to be trustworthy and credible. Make sure everything that you do, people can gain trust in you, which means you have to be consistent. We heard earlier about that, being consistent, being credible, having things to back up the truth, to back up anything that you say or you do, your products and your services. And the most important one, make decisions. Leaders make decisions, always. The hard decisions, the easy decisions. Not all of them are made on your own because there are instances where you really need to include a team. And you would understand your leadership style. There are questionnaires online that you can do. About.com has a really good one, which I think gives you some good information. So you can learn a little bit about yourself. Figure out what your style is. Are you the type of person who goes to the team and say, this is what I want done, this is when I want it done by, and this is what you should do to get it done? Talk to me when you're done. There's some people that are like that. But then there's some leaders who then come and say to you, okay, well, this is what we need to do. And they will discuss and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel this can work? What are your thoughts in terms of being able to achieve this particular objective? And the discussion will help. And you've also empowered that person because you've given them the opportunity to share in the experience. They're no longer going to just see you as the owner of the business, the big McGuffey who hands out direction. They now feel as if they're part of the team. And I think that's something that's really missing in a lot of businesses in Barbados, in that people just feel as if they're just coming to work to collect a salary. Yeah. Now, communication. This, to my mind, is one of the most important traits a leader must have. The ability to communicate effectively and clearly is important. We cannot get away from it. How many of you feel confident enough to stand up in front of an audience and speak for at least 2 minutes? 1, 2, 3. Don't like it? Yeah. Okay. This is great. Because I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's said that there are people who fear public speaking more than they fear death. Imagine that. Can somebody read this for me? We can read it together. It's absolutely essential to effective leadership.
The leader must be able to
Share knowledge and ideas, to transmit his sense of urgency and enthusiasm to others. If a leader can't get a message across,
and motivate others to act on it, then having a message doesn't even matter.
there you go. Does this resonate with you? Yes. It resonates. Let's talk about the great leaders of the world. Let's talk about Obama. We talk about his Yes We Can speech. That one comes to mind immediately. I got goosebumps when he did that speech. You know, it was touching. And a lot of the times, people make decisions, and in business as well, people make decisions based on the emotional need. So when I come to your booth, and I don't necessarily need what you have, but if you appeal to my emotions, then I'm going to spend money I don't have. It happens, right? So the ability to communicate effectively. So it ties back in with having your elevator speech, knowing what you're going to say to that customer in 30 seconds that is going to draw them in, so that they come and they stay to talk to you for a little longer. Strong communicators is knowing your values as a person. So you speak with a clear tongue, not a forked tongue. As people will say, you're here today, the other way tomorrow. Knowing your audience, which is also important when you're going to make a speech or a presentation. The message has to be clear, and it also has to be relevant to those that you're speaking to. Your choice of words. You will not do the same presentation for a group of 14-year-olds that you would do for mature adults. Their life experience is different. Their knowledge is different. So obviously you would tailor your speech to them. But this doesn't mean that you're going to use a set of words that they don't have to go and pick up a dictionary to go and look through. We know some speakers who do that quite often. We don't want that. We want that we can understand what you're saying. And if we learn a new word, that is not one which is going to cause us to pull out our hair. The audience perception. How do you then brand yourself so that when the audience looks at you, they get the right perception that you want and they're not distracted in any way? Also, your leadership ability. We touched on that a bit. Your voice and your tone. Are you aggressive? Are you warm? Can the audience hear you? Do you seem nervous or shy? Is your tone aggressive? Those kinds of things are important. Are you welcoming with the way that you speak? And also your body language. You see me standing like this, you're going to come and talk to me? No, you don't want to because I'm already giving you the wrong attitude. Agreed? Yeah. So those things we have to bear in mind. So when you're standing in your booth, and this is one of my pet peeves, and I hope that none of you do this, but sometimes you're walking by and you get by the booth just for that split second and you walk and you stop. The person looks at you and looks off. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe you could have drawn me in a way. Say something that would catch my attention so that I want to come and see what it is that you're offering. I was in Sky Mall a couple of weeks back, and there were these gentlemen who were set up outside in the hallways. The first time I walked by, from the time they could make eye contact with me, however far up I was, they were smiling. And as I walked by, they were smiling. And when I got down the car, they looked over my shoulder, and they were still looking at me and smiling. So that caused me to want to go back, to be quite honest, just because of that. Then it just became curious about what it is that they were doing. Is there anything else that we can add? Do you think any of these qualities is more important than the other? Or are they all equally important? Okay, so think it. We have to first see ourselves as being the leader. Think about who you are as a person. Think about the qualities that you already have. We're not perfect, so which means that there are things that we have to improve. There are ways in which we can improve ourselves. About 3.5 years ago, I found that I needed an avenue to express myself, learn how to speak properly, be confident with people. That's why I joined Toastmasters. It's been 3 years later. I've sat on a leadership position every year since then. There are ways to improve, and you just have to put yourself in the fire. Say yes to experience. It's not always going to be easy. There will be challenges, but you must say yes to your own personal growth, and that is where it starts. And remember that everyone that you meet is important. Remember the video that we watched where the gentleman was telling his employee, just look at the person and think to yourself, I like you. I like you. I'm going to try that. And feed your mind positive things. You want to plant seeds which grow things which are good, which are strong, which build us and cause us to be better individuals, better leaders. Remember, always think of yourself as a leader. And this quote says, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. So remember then, it is time for you, when you've learned, to then share what you've learned with others. So you want to share a bit of yourself. Share your experiences. Learn how to inspire and motivate others to be the best that they can be. It's not all about us. We live on an island, but no man is an island. So just remember that. And also know how to let go. This is important. There's some people who we will spend time with, coaching them, inspiring them, mentoring them. And we realize that they get to a point where it almost seems as if they are taking us for granted or they're no longer interested. Don't feel a way about it. It just means that you've done your part. And now it's time for them to move on and grow on their own. Sometimes that's necessary. You don't want to stifle them. That's not how you empower persons. Be able to share your vision clearly and passionately. when you talk about your business, the person must feel as if they're living it. They're within a dream, but it's so real. I want to buy everything, no matter what it is. Even if you're selling out the hood of the back of your car, I think that's the kind of passion that you should have. Understanding the person's needs and what it is that they want. And being honest. Don't lie. It's simple, but I've just gotten myself into sales. It's an area that I've avoided for years. And my experience has been that when you're doing sales for particular interests, let's call them particular interests, based on the company, it can be challenging at times. But what I've learned is that I don't lie to my customers, but I do not attempt to make the company that I'm working for look bad either. So it's how you say it, by being honest, not making false promises, or things that you know will never happen, because there's some, yeah. When the cameras are off, we can talk about that. But like I'm saying, just remember to be honest, brutally honest. I'll give you an example. You will notice that on my list of people, I have there Alice Jordan from the Alice Morning Breakfast Show. The reason I put her on there is because I was listening a couple mornings ago, I think it was last week, and they were doing the show that they normally do, the What Drives You Crazy, yes. So this guy called in and he was giving this joke about his daughter and the fouls and that kind of thing. So then you realize that there was like a split second of dead air, and Alice Jordan just came back like, oh, okay, because usually she'd be cracking up at things like this. And then she was so humble, and she was like, I'm sorry, but I wasn't listening. I was reading the text. And that was a big joke to me because she was so brutally honest that she was actually not paying attention. Not many people are bold enough to do something like that. You made a mistake, and you're actually going to admit it on air? Please. And that's one of the things that I admire about her. She just seems to be so modest in terms of how she operates. So remember to be honest with your audience. And be a leader. It's all about your attitude. We have bad days. We have good days. Nobody needs to know when we're having our bad days, especially when we're having business. When I'm having a bad day, I stay in my house. I don't leave. And then I look for ways to get myself back on track, to make sure, no, there's no have to leave. So you smile, so even like when something challenging happens or something bad happens. Kim Tara talked about the tent. There are nights that could be very, very challenging. And then when you're dealing with artists of varying personalities and interests and egos and that kind of thing, then you have to know how to keep a particular kind of temperament where they're concerned. When I'm backstage and I'm working, there are two modes for me. Serious mode and smile and happy Janelle. Especially when the show is about to end, nobody's dancing more than me and hopping and skipping from one place to the next. I'm under pressure, but that's just the way it is. When I first started doing events in business, I remember there was a series of events that we did. And the night of the finals, this was like for about 6 months back to back. Every single Friday night, back to back. It was stressful dealing with over 100 participants that had passed through. On the final night of the finals, I emceed that show as well. I left the stage, went into the office, and I sat down. And I just came to tears. And it wasn't because I was sad. It was because I was happy that it was over and the pressure was now lifted. And I needed that relief. And then after a while, I caught myself and just started laughing and smiling. And I got in the car and drove home. Sometimes you need to have those moments alone. Because as a leader, it's not easy. It is not. People think that you're a leader, so you're standing up tall and everybody's at your feet. It's not like that at all. If you find that that's the way that you're positioned, then you're not a good leader. It means that you're probably being a charismatic leader, which means that people are not going to be able to function without you. It means that everything is relying on your ego being present, which is not good. Empower others, exactly what we were speaking about just now. developing that team, being humble and a service to others, because that's exactly what it is, being a service to others. I remember I was told when I first started, okay, money will come, but see how you can help people. See how you can assist them. Doesn't mean that you're doing it for free, don't get me wrong, because there has to be a price to pay. There has to be some kind of exchange, whether it be knowledge or financial. There has to be some kind of exchange that you're getting from this relationship. Take a genuine interest in others and their success. If you have employees, take a genuine interest in them and their success. Because when you do that, it means that they will be more loyal to you. There are some people who will try to pull the rug out from under a business because they say, I don't like you, you don't treat me good, you don't pay me enough, and I ain't doing more than I have to, and I can just make sure that I bring down this business bit by bit. There are people who will do that. But then it also depends on how you respond to that particular situation, that particular person. And that is all part of being a leader. A strong sense of integrity, being consistent. Important, important, important. Consistency. It's not always easy, and that's why I made the comment that on some days I would just prefer to stay home, because that is my time now to make sure that I feed myself, to build myself back up before I face the world again. Because being a leader is not easy. It is challenging. Being true to yourself, knowing your values, knowing who you are as a person, also what is important to you, and not letting anything or anyone deter you at all. And there will be people who will try. But if you're a leader, you always say to yourself, I am a leader. I have people who are looking up to me. There are people who I am responsible for. Not that you're controlling them, but you're responsible for setting the example for them. And you need to do what it is you need to do for yourself to ensure that you continue to have yourself as a leader. And also know how to follow and to listen. Important, important, important. Every leader is not in front. Some leaders are in the middle. Some are behind. But as the leader, you're the person that after they've gone ahead and done and succeed, they're going to look to you because you've given them the inspiration to do whatever it is that they need to do. And the ability to listen. This one is important, and I'll share this with you. Our Toastmasters motto is, for better listening, for better thinking, for better speaking. I'll say it again. For better listening, for better thinking, for better speaking. Why is this important? When you listen, you hear, and you understand, then you know how to respond to a person. If you haven't listened, then obviously you're just going to say gibberish to whatever that person is thinking or feeling. And sometimes you have to see and don't see. I almost said Toastmasters. But ladies, because we're just ladies now, I hope that something... It wasn't my intention. Speaking to my general audience. Right, so I hope that there's something here that you can take away. I actually shortened the presentation a little because it could get a little deep. But remember, the key thing I want you to take away from this presentation is always to see yourself as a leader. You are a leader within your own right, whether you're at home, whether you're walking the dog, or trying to get the cat to do something. You are a leader. So just remember that, regardless of age, regardless of job, regardless of business, regardless of where you are a leader. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you, have a good afternoon, and remember to think it, say it, and be it. Be a leader.